In 1968, right in the middle of the Paris student riots, shows up Matthew, a young American who decided to learn French just when Paris was literally on fire, basically a study abroad hardcore mode. One day, in the middle of a protest, he meets Isabel, who bluntly tells him, "I've seen you around, always alone, never talking to anyone." Matthew, with his lost American accent, replies, "I just got here from the US. I don't know anyone and I have no friends." Isabel introduces him to her twin brother Theo, and boom, three film nerds suddenly find in each other what they were missing: a friendship fueled by movies, debates, and a bit of existential chaos. Until the police show up and everyone runs like it's a free marathon. Back at his hotel, Matthew can't stop smiling. He finally has friends and even shares meals with him, which for a broke student abroad is basically gold. That night, he writes a letter to his mom back in the US, because in 1968 there was no WhatsApp, only pen and paper. The next day, Theo invites Matthew over for dinner. When he gets there, Matthew is stunned. The house is huge, the mom is warm, and the dad is a famous French writer who spends dinner talking about poetry, literature, and inspiration. But instead of paying attention, Matthew is busy playing with Isabel's lighter. The father gets annoyed, but Matthew quickly improvises, turning the lighter into a metaphor about how everything in the world is connected. The dad, impressed, even mutters, "I wish Theo were more like that." Theo and his father are always clashing over politics. Dad preaches peace and poetry, while Theo wants revolution, barricades, and no compromise. Mom, of course, plays peacemaker. The next day, the parents leave on a trip, hand the kids a check, and suddenly, the house is all theirs. Theo asks Matthew to stay over, and that's when things start getting weird. In the middle of the night, Matthew accidentally sees Theo and Isabella sleep together in a way that makes him question whether it was the wine or something else entirely. The next morning, Isabel wakes him up in her underwear, playfully smearing lipstick on him. He bolts. Soon, though, he realizes the twins have, let's say, alternative dynamics. Theo suggests Matthew move in since the parents won't be back for a month. He agrees. And so begins a bizarre routine. Philosophical debates, film trivia games, outrageous dares, and challenges you definitely wouldn't play with your siblings back in the US. In one of these games, they recreate the iconic Louvre run from Godard's Band of Outsiders, and Matthew joins in, knowing full well that if caught, he'd be deported faster than a tourist without a visa. The madness continues. Isabel dares Theo to do something outrageous, and he does it without hesitation. Then, Theo challenges Matthew about being American during the Vietnam War. He accuses him of being part of the violence, and Matthew snaps back that he didn't choose the war. The only war he wanted was against Isabel's undercooked French meals. Their fights are intense, but Isabel always finds a way to steer things back to the movie trivia game. Romantic tensions rise. Isabel and Matthew go on an improvised date, dinner and a movie, and she finds out Theo seeing another girl. Cue jealousy. Back home, fights, kisses, and revelations erupt. The three even sleep together inside a makeshift fort in the living room, like 8-year-olds playing camping, except without clothes. When the parents return, they walk in on the scene, but instead of causing scandal, they just leave another check and leave again. If this were in the US, trust me, the cops would already be at the door. Isabel spirals. She knows the parents must have figured things out and decides she can't live with that shame. She opens the gas in the kitchen, planning to die with her brother and Matthew. But fate intervenes. A rock from the riots outside shatters the window, waking Matthew. He smells the gas, and instead of dying, they rush out to join the revolution in the streets. Suddenly, they're all throwing stones, shouting against the government, and living that historical moment to its fullest. But unity has its limits. Theo grabs Molotov cocktails and wants to take the fight further. Isabel follows. Matthew, on the other hand, realizes he wasn't made for throwing rocks at police. He runs, backs away, and leaves the chaos behind. The scene is madness, youth versus police, ideals versus order, and in the middle of it all, an American who only wanted to learn French and ended up drowning in existential dilemmas. Fun fact, director Bernardone Bertolucci chose Eva Green for Isabel for her very first movie role. Yep, this was her debut on screen. Also, the famous Louvre is a direct homage to Band of Outsiders, only shot in an even bolder way. Personally, no way I'd share a shower with French twins playing Truth or Dare 18+ edition. I'd run to a bakery, grab a croissant, and wait for the revolution to blow over. What I find most interesting is how Matthew, even as the American outsider, becomes a mirror. He sees the twins' confusing relationship, questions and provokes them, but also learns from their intensity. And now I'll throw the question back to you. If you were in Matthew's shoes, would you stay and fight alongside Theo and Isabel in the revolution? Or would you have packed your bags and flown back to the US? Drop your answer in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you next time.